projects. However, Project 3A, which is 501 Brinkerhoff Avenue, the applicant has requested a 2-week continuance, so it's been continued to October 12th. Other than that, there's no other changes to the agenda. Under announcements and appeals, we've made some minor changes to the SHO, to the staff hearing officer meeting schedule. The meeting that was scheduled for November 23rd, which is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, has been canceled. However, we have added an additional meeting in December, which is December 21st. So I just wanted to announce those changes to people. Then the appeal that I announced last meeting regarding 1127 Bath Street, it was a approval of an interior setback modification that the applicant appealed to the Planning Commission. At that time, we didn't have a date for the Planning Commission, but I want to announce that a hearing date has been set, and that is on November 3rd. So that appeal will be before the Planning Commission on that date. So we'll go to the first item, which is a consent item. It's a request for a 1-year time extension for a project located at 124 Los Aguajes Avenue. It was originally approved by the Planning Commission in September of 2009, and through a series of state time extensions and a time extension that was approved by the staff hearing officer last year. It's still valid, and they're back requesting an additional 1-year time extension for their tentative map modifications and coastal development permits. And I've read the staff report and the applicant's letter requesting the extension. And I agree with the discussion in the staff report that the project still continues to be in compliance with our coastal plan and our general plan, as well as the municipal code. So therefore, I can make the finding that the project continues to be in compliance with those documents and approve the requested 1-year time extension. The new expiration date is September 3rd, 2017. And this extension, the project is still subject to the original conditions of approval that were added to the project back in 2009. So we'll go to the second item on the agenda, which is 1420 La Cima Road. If the applicant would like to come up to the table. The staff will provide a brief staff presentation, and then you can provide any follow-up comments you'd like. So anytime you're ready, Danny.
Can I sit here?
Yes, right there's fine.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Danny Cotto. I'm the senior planner for the zoning section, and I'm presenting this for... Hi, my name is Danny Cotto, the senior planner for the zoning section. I'm presenting this case at 1420 La Cima. It is a proposal for a front setback modification for a fountain. I'd like to orient you to the site. La Cima Road is on the bottom of the plan. Blue is the property boundaries. It slopes quite a bit from La Cima, which is the top of the hill, down as you go back, as you go up on this sheet. Yellow is the required setbacks, and in pink here is the requested fountain. Now, the notice that went out also said that the as-built garage to carport conversion needed a modification, but since the time of the preparation of that notice, we've determined that modification is not necessary. Okay. The addition of a garage door, that being the only change to the carport, that change of use doesn't require a modification. So we're talking about the fountain, which is right here. Like I said, La Cima is at the bottom, and that site slopes down, but there's quite a grade differential. It's 5 or 6 feet between La Cima Road and the front patio right here, and there's a retaining wall with a fence on top of it that separates La Cima from the property. I'll talk about the fence in a second. But like I said, you walk into this gate, down a bunch of steps, and then you're at quite a lower level, 5 or 6 feet. And this fountain is up against the retaining wall that separates the street from the property. We don't anticipate any detrimental consequences of allowing this to stay, so we're recommending the approval of this modification. It wouldn't affect openness from the street. It would not affect noise. It wouldn't affect any neighbors. So, like I said, we're recommending approval. I want to talk about the front fence, though. So there's a 5-foot high fence on top of the retaining wall. Only a 3.5-foot high fence is allowed. The applicant was previously notified that they could apply for administrative minor height exception for the fence, and I think they're planning on doing that. We discussed this matter with the transportation operations section, and they recommended that the first 30 feet on this side of the fence be reduced to 3.5 feet, and the 20 feet on this side be reduced to 3.5 feet. There's a secondary driveway access here. So, so the only portion that's really eligible for the minor height exception would be this little section in here. And so when we get the application, we would run it again by transportation operations, and I would look at it myself or staff would look at it to see whether that would be approvable or not. So just to say one more time, we propose that we support the application. We recommend approval of the front setback modification with a couple of conditions. One is that the fencing be either apply for the administrative citation or administrative height exception, or reduce the fence height. And then the second is any. I forgot to mention as the background. We're here because of an enforcement case. There was a zoning information report that was done a couple of years ago and identified some major violations, so it was referred to enforcement immediately. And as a result of that, this is one of the items necessary to clear up that enforcement case. So just the abatement of those violations are also proposed as a condition of approval.
Okay. I think that, okay, so that was it?
That concludes my staff presentation, yes.
All right, would you like to state your name for the record and provide additional comments?
Yeah, it's Mark Pacino. I'm the owner of the property. I'm curious as to why this is an issue here, because I fell within the guidelines of the site triangle. And what most people don't realize is that, and if you can see it in the photographs, you are allowed to park on that street. So on this side of the street, it's a one-way street. There's no houses on the other side, and it's a cul-de-sac over here. So the traffic is very slow. Even when there is a car parked there, you can see 50 feet down the road, and vice versa. So any car approaching would clearly see my car backing out of the garage or coming into the garage. And such has been the case for the last probably 45 years.
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you. The subject of today's hearing is the front setback modification for the fountain. The fence height is a separate process. The administrative fence, I can't say it. The separate that's a whole separate process, and so I don't have purview over that in this hearing, unless you are requesting a modification to allow it to remain. So the first step to allowing this fence to remain as it is to request a fence height exception. Yeah, exception.
Exception.
And if that's denied, then you can come back before the staff hearing officer and request an actual modification and provide justifications why the modification should be approved, even though the fence height exception was denied. Okay. So you can provide the comments if you want, but it's not something that's going to be. And
if I could add, just I think we should probably have this conversation with the transportation operations folks, because they're the ones that were looking at the site visibility items. So that would be the more appropriate.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Because there was a conflict within the department when I had that discussion, because it met current guidelines, but then someone who commented against it said it did meet future guidelines, but we were only talking about current.
I don't. Like I said, that's a different whole other discussion.
So then, what's my process that I would do? Because I would like to keep the fence as is. So how do I? What's
your next step would be to apply for the administrative height exception.
Okay, and I do that
at the counter. And there's submittal forms and submittal requirements and all that.
Sure,
so they can help you there. There's
administrative height. Yeah, I can help you with that.
Okay, perfect.
So. So do you have any questions in regards, or any comments in regards to the fountain?
Or the garage, no? Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, actually, if I could say one more thing on the condition, maybe we soften the condition a little bit just to say that whatever transportation operation says safety-wise would be okay.
Well, what the condition says now, and actually I wanted to change it just slightly, but it says either an administrative height exception shall be obtained for the overheight wall, fence, arbor, and gate at the property, or the wall, fence, arbor, and gate shall be shown on the plan submitted for single-family design board final approval to comply with the zoning ordinance and subject to review and approval by the Public Works Department for traffic safety. So I think it says that, but what I wanted to just add prior to preliminary design review approval by the single-family design board, so that whatever they look at next is what was approved. So it would have both the modification, whatever the action is for the modification, and whatever the action is for the fence height. So it's just to clarify when in the process it should occur.
Did the single-family design board approve that? Or I have that in notes of a meeting that I took here.
It was probably concept only
yeah.
because they can't take an approval until you get your modification.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's probably just comments and comments to the
God, okay.
to the SHO.
I'm just learning the process. Okay, so then I apply for administrative height approval,
Correct.
and then we go from there.
Yeah, then you decide what your next steps is, depending on the outcome of that.
Fair enough.
All right, so I actually do have another question, Danny. When projects come before the staff hearing officer, one of the conditions, standard conditions, is that all zoning violations be abated. And your first condition says violations outlined in ZIR, the ZIR and the enforcement case shall be abated and included in the scope of work. I noticed that there is also an active enforcement case on the vacation rental.
Yes.
And so what historically we do is that all zoning violations need to be abated with this application.
Sorry, I forgot to say that.
I
Yes.
didn't know there was an enforcement case on
So-
my rental.
Yeah. So.
I was never notified of that.
Yeah. Okay. Let me explain. So the city is undergoing a enforcement of all vacation rentals in the city, and there's the way we're doing this, we have because there's so many of them, we have a priority system for enforcement, and that system, basically the highest priority are cases where there have been reported to be nuisances by neighbors, and then also in that same tier are projects that are or vacation rentals that are taking place within average unit density units, because those are high priority, somewhat affordable rentals. And then beyond that, there's 4 different tiers, depending on if you're in a zone that allows it, or and if you're paying your transient occupancy tax, your bed tax, and whether you have a business license. And this case is in a lower tier of enforcement, because they have been paying their transient occupancy tax. Now, there's a separate, in addition to that kind of effort going on with enforcement of vacation rentals, we have a policy, like you said, that if violations are discovered during a discretionary review process, we also elevate those. We didn't describe that to the council at the time, but we've confirmed with the city attorney's office that is the correct procedure. So I should have mentioned in my staff report that we're proposing a condition that the vacation rental also be abated as part of as a condition of approval for the approval of this of the fountain.
Well, it seems to go hand in hand with the enforcement case 2014 387, in that that was kitchen stuff within the art studio. So
I'm not aware whether the art studio, which is behind the garage, was the location of the vacation rental or not.
Oh,
so I
okay.
can't say specifically whether that 2014 enforcement case would take care of the vacation rental or not.
Okay.
So it probably would be best to include the newer enforcement case.
Okay, so then it'd be the violations outlined in ZIR 2014-00185, in ENF 2014-00387, and enforcement 2016-00964 shall be abated?
Yes,
Okay.
that's our recommendation.
Okay, great.
So Explain something to me, because I'm aware of that, the vacation rental situation here. But as I understand it, you can have a vacation rental as long as you're renting 30 days. Your lease is 30 days or longer.
Oh, yeah, that's correct.
Then it's not a
Right. It's
vacation
not a
rental.
vacation rental.
Okay, because that's what's happening in the new year.
Right. But
So
as a-
for this particular property.
Correct.
So, this is the first time that these two issues have been merged, because my communication from the various meetings I went to and whatnot was, yes, you are right, paid my tax and all that stuff, registered business license, all that stuff. But they said come the new year, 2017, they would be enforcing that. So this is...
Well, okay, yeah. There's kind of a lot of
There's a lot of
misconception.
there's a lot of
misconception
misinformation here. I mean,
going on.
you know.
It's not quite the subject of this meeting, but
Okay.
but I think it's worth saying that the enforcement action is going on just because there are so many, and we can't get to all of them at once. We have put in this system where those that are paying their transient occupancy tax, the TOT, they are at a lower priority.
Yes.
So under normal circumstances, a property like this one, a vacation rental like this one that's paying their TOT would be and is much lower on the priority list. However, because they're coming in for a discretionary, you are coming in for a discretionary approval, then the city can elevate that and require it as a condition of approval to be for the short-term vacation rental to cease. Mm-hmm. So, and like I said, I wasn't able to contact you because I just found out like 10 minutes ago that
Well, the whole purpose of the notification was, since I've been paying, the city's been taking my tax and the license, I have contracts and I have obligations relative to, the vacation rental until the end of the year, which it's then, as you say, it's not a vacation rental anymore because it's...
Yeah, well, it's part of your
longer.
discretionary approval. It's standard to require the abatement of violations.
Sure,
So
I understand that,
so
but
that's
we've
a
always
whole-
talked about the abatement of the zoning violations.
Okay. A zoning violation
Would
is
be-
a vacation rental
Right.
because it's renting a place for less than 30 days. So
Right.
as part of the approval, I'm going to put that condition on. Your option would be to appeal it to the Planning Commission and ask them to remove it.
And we can talk about this a little bit more after
Okay.
the hearing.
And the timing of it
Right.
in terms of the abatement and the following up of the implementation of the conditions. But
Okay.
as part of the approval,
I understand. I understand how it works.
Okay.
And I understand all that's because the sink and all that was removed
Right,
and
okay.
all that was taken care of. So, and it just so happens as timing is by the end of the year, it's
Okay. Yeah.
on vacation rental.
Yeah. We'll talk after this.
okay, so with those two changes to the conditions, I can make the findings outlined in the staff report. Although I really didn't talk about the fountain, we talked about other things. But the fountain is the modification to allow the fountain to remain is consistent with the purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
It's not visible from the street. There isn't a grade change. It's a nice outside feature. So in terms of the fountain itself, it is something that is supportable. That's why I can make the findings outlined in the staff report and approve your project subject to the two conditions as I just revised them. And like I said to you, my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days, and they also have oversight authority of all my actions, and if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day review period, and if either of those would occur, Danny would contact you.
Okay, great. And so so I'm then now going to. I'll wait.
Wait. We just adjourn the meeting, and then you can talk. All right. So I adjourn the meeting. And you can push the buttons.